Each night of Hanukkah, we recite the short tefillah of Hanirot Halalu as we light the Hanukkah candles. And in that short tefillah, we come to the following line. V'chol shemonat yemei Chanukah Hanirot Halalu kodesh hein ve'ein lanu reshut lehishtamesh behen el lirotan bilvad. During the 8 days of Hanukkah, the Hanukkah candles are kodesh, they're holy, and we don't have permission to use them. We can only look at them. So why exactly do we need to say this, and what does it even mean? The most obvious comparison would be to Shabbat candles, which, though they're mutzah and cannot be touched, are still used to provide light for the home. We directly derive benefit from them. They are what ensures shalom bayit, because to eat a meal in darkness on Shabbat would be painful and difficult each week. Hanukkah candles are different, though. One is not allowed to use them for any instrumental purpose or derive benefit from them in any tangible way. They're not intended to provide light for the home, and that's the reason why we light the shamash, an additional candle, so that if it happens that we were to accidentally benefit from the light of the Hanukkah candles, we can say that it was in fact from the light of the shamash and not the Hanukkah candles themselves. So where exactly does this strange halacha come from? Why is it so important that we not derive benefit from the candles? The Gemara isn't quite so clear. When we think about what the Hanukkah candles are meant to represent, perhaps we can gain a clearer understanding. The Hanukkah candles commemorate the miracle of the oil lasting for 8 days in the Beit HaMikdash. And therefore, they serve as an important model for Kedusha, because that's what the Beit Mikdash was. It was the source of Kedusha for the Jewish people. Most of the time, we conceive of Kedusha as something we are trying to infuse within the concrete reality of life. If we want our actions or our relationships to be holy, we must function in a certain manner that makes Kedusha possible. We keep kosher, we follow the laws of Taharat HaMishpacha, or perhaps we're inspired by Chassidut or Rav Kook's vision of Kiddush HaChol, that there are sparks of holiness to be found everywhere, and it's our responsibility to raise them up. However, there is another way to think about Kedusha, one that seeks not to infuse it within the here and now, but rather recognizes that Kedusha is always at a distance from us. The shoresh for Kedusha in Hebrew means separate, right? And this, in fact, one could argue, is what makes Kedusha Kodesh. It's what makes it holy. The fact that it cannot easily be found or subsumed within that which is common or banal. Rav Shagar, in an essay from L'Ha'ir Tepetachim, his essays on Hanukkah, argues that this is the kind of Kedusha embodied within the Hanukkah candles. It's a Kedusha shel ha'acher, the holiness of the other, a holiness v'hofa'at hapar v'hahavdel she'einam nitanim legishor. It's a holiness that appears as a gap, a separation that cannot be bridged. And that's why he explains we can't touch the Hanukkah candles. That's why we can't derive benefit from them. All we can do is look at them. In fact, this kind of holiness, a Kedusha of otherness, cannot really be found within the home at all, because our home is what we know. It's an extension of who we are. Encountering a Kedusha of otherness means leaving our home. And that's why we must ideally light our Hanukkah candles at the doorway, at the threshold between what we know, what's comfortable to us, and that which lies outside, just beyond. Most of us prefer a Kedusha that perceives holiness within the here and now. And there's something intoxicating about Rav Kook and Chassidut's vision, that there's holiness all around us, just waiting to be discovered and revealed, that holiness is never truly alien or foreign to us. However, perhaps we must pay closer attention to the Kedusha of the Hanukkah candles, the Kedusha of otherness, because in some ways it's a much harder Kedusha to perceive. Rav Shagar explains that encountering the Kedusha of otherness requires us to overcome our ego. It challenges us. It challenges us fundamentally, because a Kedusha of otherness speaks to a reality that we will never have mastery over. We may in fact experience it as strange or even threatening, because it cannot easily be assimilated into what we know. It's something beyond, and that's not so easy for us. We like things that we know and naturally or easily fit into our world. We want our Kedusha inside the home. But that's not the kind of Kedusha Hanukkah candles represent. Their Kedusha can only be discovered when we leave our home, when we leave our comfort zone, which is hard, but because we are nevertheless drawn to their light. But at the same time, we have to remember that for otherness to be other, for holiness to be holy, we only get to look at those Hanukkah candles and not touch.